This is Ron Gallo, and you're watching The Ben Adams Show.
I just keep dancing between everything is fucking meant to be, but at least I am dancing.
Yeah, the obvious things like just getting the band together, practicing, making sure everything is tight, learning how to play the record. So that's sort of like the logistics. And just like kind of dealing with the new set of nerves that comes with touring, because there's like so much more risk now with touring and being just kind of rusty from it being removed from the picture in a normal way for so many years. So, all of that, I guess, getting mentally prepared. And to be honest, I mean, I'm just sort of excited to be in rooms with people again, because your only interaction and dialogue with people being on the internet can feel very, I don't know, pointless at times. Like you're just screaming at the wall. So like when you get in rooms with people, I'm just excited to do that. And it's always great to be in Europe. I mean, it's hard to even pick cities. Like I love Amsterdam and like Switzerland we're going to, Spain, France. I mean, all of it. It's just amazing to be in those places and then every night have like a task, to go and play for people. And even in the US run, like we're going to all of our, used to live in Nashville, going back there, and of course like hitting New York and Boston, Chicago, Philly, DC. So I don't know, I'm just kind of like excited for all of it. We didn't put anything in the schedule that we're not excited about. So I think it just sort of encapsulates like the probably whatever genre of music I am. I feel like that's a good term for it, because there's an urgency and kind of in your faceness to it. It can be kind of unavoidable, both like in sound and also the lyrical topics are like pretty current. Like I'm kind of talking a lot about what is happening in the world right now in real time. And so foreground music just seemed to kind of fit. Like it has an urgency to it. I kind of came up with the phrase as like, the opposite of background music, the obvious sort of pun there, but I feel like it fits. I don't know. Yeah. If anything, I feel like this record ties together all the other ones. Because each one before this has been a completely different experiment. The first record was like very much like an homage to like late 70s New York punk and garage. And then the second one was a little bit more like, there was more like the 80s new wave Talking Heads influence. The last record was kind of like 90s, like hip hop, jazz, pop, kind of weird conglomerate. So like all of those are so widely different. And then this record, I feel like ties together little pieces of all of them. So definitely the quest for unity. I definitely get I guess I found a lot of inspiration in the things that I think are sort of in opposition to unity, because, I try to put a lot of humanity in what I do and like focus on, I guess my idea of like what a better situation would look like for, for the world, for people, for our daily lives, for my own personal, and a lot of that starts with me is like figuring out the problems. So I tend to get pretty confrontational, like who and what ways of thinking, what ways of being are kind of fucking with the trajectory that I feel like we should be on, which is like, peace, harmony, all of these like big words, but like not division. That's like, it should be about bringing people together, because like the truth is we're just people on a planet living a completely mysterious existence. Why all the opposition? Why all the fighting? Why all the negativity? Why all the individualism? And so I'm usually like combating all that shit to get people to just like come back down to earth and just laugh about it all a little bit and stop taking it all so seriously. Like that's my goal if I had one, I guess. Yeah, I mean, making it is very therapeutic. I mean, because like it starts with that. It's like it comes from my own anxiety or fury or like issues that I have, and then the songs come out, and then it's like purging all that stuff, facing all that stuff through the songs is like, oh, this helped me out a lot. And then it's like when it comes out, you hope that it can kind of provide the same thing for other people that hear it. So The inspiration for the song, so that one, that's a very polarizing song because it's sort of like this weird cross section of, there's like this apocalyptic sense to it, and there's this like nihilistic, like negative aspect to it, but then there's like all this hope, and the whole thing is kind of satirical and kind of a joke song in a way. And like the humor and the darkness, like I feel like that's kind of my favorite place to exist, and I feel like this song is like the kind of quintessential song that does that on the record, and probably out of all of my songs. And so it really just comes from that. Like I feel like that's the kind of the state that I live in as a person. I'm like, 1 second I'm just like, fuck, you're depending on where you're looking, and then the next moment I'm like, no, but like it's all good, like we, and just kind of bouncing between these two states. And so that's kind of like what this song is. And musically, I don't even know. It's fucking it's kind of a mess. Like there's the choruses, which to me they're sort of like this dance punkish kind of chaotic sounding thing, and then like when the verses come in, it's like a complete change of tempo, and it turns into this like almost psychedelic swirl, like changes the mood. So I don't really even know where it comes from. It's like psycho stuff. I mean, it wasn't too glamorous. A lot of it was done in this room, which is the third floor studio in my house. Yeah, it wasn't. There's some interesting things. So like where the studio is, where my house is like right between two gigantic construction sites. So like while recording, the house would be shaking, or you would hear like bulldozers or saws or hammers and all this industrial construction noise. And so we captured some of it on the album, but it also heavily influenced like the aesthetic of the record too. Like the record is orange, and there's like the caution tape theme, and I honestly just took that from looking at my surroundings. It's just the most honest thing. I walk out my door and it's just exactly what I see. Orange barricades, caution tape, and there's like giant machinery, and it's a disaster. It looks like the end of the world.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if anything, just like having that stuff around while you're trying to make a record is very strange thing to be influenced by, but we just leaned into it. For me personally, the first thing that comes to mind is like a lot of the song Big Truck Energy, because I feel like it's the most direct, kind of uncomfortable, confrontational track on the album, where like we kind of talked about earlier, like a lot of this record is me addressing like the problematic things in the world, that at least that I think. And that song is like very much a direct version of that. And so when we play that song and it sings to that song, it's like you kind of return to it every time, and you're like, shit, okay, this is a bit intense. So it's like I don't want to pull lines out of it, but probably like most of that song, it's hard to like bring it down to one line. Or like on the total opposite end of the spectrum, now that I thought about it for a second, should I get a haircut or just cut my whole head off? That kind of that's
like, a good line.
Which is a line from Foreground music, is like, another good example of, these kind of fucked up questions that you ask yourself, but like in a darkly humorous way. And so
yeah,
another one that kind of jumps out. I think if people can find a little bit of solace like in dealing with the anxious nature of being alive right now, and they can kind of listen to this record and feel less alone, and like, why do I feel off a lot of the time? Why am I anxious? Why do I feel this about this? And why do I feel chaotic? I think, how could you not in 2023 with just the way that life is, the things that are happening in the world? And so like, I hope people can listen to it and at least like not feel alone in their, their madness in their mind, I guess. And I guess from that, like just maybe a sense of empowerment, like if people can listen to this record and kind of get amped up to like not take any shit, like if there's things or people in their life that don't serve them, it's all got to go. Like,
right.
can like rev people up to kind of like stand up for themselves and their values and things they believe in, and kind of what I feel like is a world that's like designed to kind of keep those things down. So those are big goals, but hey, maybe.
Hey, as us as musicians, we're dreamers. I love to hear it.
Oh man, I don't know if I've ever received advice. I'm trying to think about it. I know that I've given a lot of it, like uninformed advice based on mine, but it's hard to say. I don't ever recall getting any advice from anybody. As far as it's just like a weird thing to say, but nothing comes to mind. Well, okay, one thing I thought of is there was a point like after touring pretty heavily for 2 years, and we were playing a festival in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I was just like so burnout. And a band I love who are like also sort of friends, acquaintances, we've played a few shows together and have crossed paths over the years, called Parquet Courts. I was hanging with those guys, and I was just really burnt out, and I was just like, fuck, like, how do you sustain like when you kind of get to this point mentally where you're burnt out? And he just kind of said, it's like how do you sustain this pursuit? And then like all the one singer said, it was just like, it's about the journey. And I'm like, I know that's a very sort of cliche, obvious thing to say, but it is true. It's not really about the arrival, and it's sort of about not taking for granted like the entire journey of playing. It's like when you make a record and you put it out, you go out and you play. It's like, be there for those moments, because it is easy to get burnt out on this. And then like you'll see like a whole tour go by and you're like, I was barely there for any of that. And you just never know when the shit's going to go away. So like I feel like that's good advice. It's just like to be present and be there for what you're doing and like really take it in. The next step is only the now of the future. So it's like, if you can't be where you are now, you're not going to be there then either. So it's just like this weird disconnect. Mm-hmm. One other little thing that popped in my head specifically with making this record, which I kind of applied, was I listened to an interview with Missy Elliott, and she was talking about how her and her producers didn't listen to any other music when they made records. And I thought that was very cool. And I did kind of apply that to making this album, where I really didn't listen to a lot of stuff, because then you don't really take anything subconsciously. You're not really getting a lot of outside influence, and that allows for you to just kind of do something potentially new and more spontaneous. And I thought that was cool. So hard to say. It can all change in any moment, I guess. But obviously, starting in April, it's going to be tour time, and we'll be back out, US, and we're going to be over in Europe, and then, short breaks in between. But I kind of foresee like a lot of time on the road this year, which is essential and good. And it's really hard to see beyond that. Finishing up a book. We made sort of a concert film that goes along with this record. And so, putting that stuff out and whatnot. But I think a lot of it's just going to be about taking these songs and like going out to human beings in real life again. And I can't really see beyond it. So
that's awesome. When does your guys' tour start?
April 5th starts the US portion, and it's like 10 days. It's not too long. And then we go over to Europe starting on April 29th to the end of May. So that's about 5 weeks.
As far as questions, that is all we have. We want to thank you so much for your time and your efforts and your music, and for the time that you've given us today to kind of go over the process and kind of what has been going on with Ron Gallo. And so we're super excited. Everyone go listen to his album that will be coming out March 3rd, 2023, and he will start tour in April for the US leg. So go give him a follow. We'll make sure to put your info as well with the video so that people can know where to locate you. But thank you so much. Is there any questions that you might have for us?
Where are you guys based?
We're based in Utah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, we down here in Utah, we got the city called Provo, and then there's obviously like the capital, Salt Lake, and the music scene is very, very alive here. So Ben Adams has been a great support as far as getting the artist's voice known and heard in many different places. So
That's awesome. You guys have the Kilby Court block party.
yeah,
Those lineups are amazing. I think the most
I know,
recent one, I was like, damn, Salt Lake City, best festival lineup of all time.
yeah, I'm excited to go. I'm going on the Sunday show.
Nice.
I'm going to see Crumb and the Backseat Lovers, also based from
Awesome.
Utah, and they're yeah, I love their music.
They're both
so.
great bands. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Do you listen to Crumb?
I do. Yes, I love.
They're amazing.
Do they have a new record coming? Because I've seen they've kind of gotten active again recently. Where I think for a while they were kind of tucked away. But yeah, I'm all about Crumb. I love it.
Yeah, I hope they do. I Smelt was really good. So
absolutely
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ron, and we appreciate so much your time that you've given us, and we hope to see you next time.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Peace out.
Bye.